My name is Maisie Cash, and we're going to be checking out Colors, WREN's spring show. And yeah, let's take a look. All right, starting with Pam Tarbell. She's an oil painter, and these here are two of a series called the Quilted Barns, or Barn Quilts. And they're oil on canvas, and she got this quilted pattern on both of these. Anyone who is a quilter would appreciate all the detail that goes into the angles of fabric, and so each color changes as the patchwork changes, and I think that's really cool. This one is much more bold and striking lines, and this has softer lines. This is called Barn Quilt number 1, and this is Barn Quilt number 3. Next up is In the Garden number 3, also by Pam Tarbell. This is oil on canvas. I believe all of them are oil, actually. She works in oil mainly. And this is just a lot of bursts of color, almost like, it says in the garden, so it could be land, but she's got a lot of water work going on, and it could be even a reflection of what's going on in the water. So this next piece called Koi is a 30 by 40 oil on canvas. And the colors, the contrast of the colors are super striking. A lot of her work she might use kind of a loose brush stroke, but this she used really bold brush strokes, and so the color pops, and it's really cool. So yeah, underwater koi. And this next one is a 36 by 48, her largest piece in the show. And it's also underwater, or at least a reflection of birds flying over the water. And you can see the reeds over top looking at the water. This next one is one of a series, although it's just one of the series that we have here. It's called Lily Pond Series number 14, and it's a 24 by 30. And it pairs really nicely with the big one next to it. Similar blues, a bit more loose with the brush strokes, and pop in color. Next up we have Down by the River. And I love these colors that she used for the reeds that you can see through to the water behind it. So you can see a lot of motion behind these reeds. Lots of pinks and purples and orange, and it's really nice contrasting the blue behind it. Now, all of these smaller pieces are part of a series called Journey. So this is Journey number 5, Journey number 11, Journey number 7, and then over here is Journey number 15. And these are all oil on canvas, and much more softer strokes. The colors kind of blend in together, and it's much more abstract. This next one is a 40 by 30 oil on canvas, and I love these dark colors that she used. It's New Hampshire Mountain View, and of course anyone who lives up here knows that this is a great impression of what our mountains can look like in the evening or nighttime. Just striking blues with the black trees in front, and yeah, it's really beautiful. These next 4 are another series of Pam Tarbell's. This is Traveling number 5, number 8, number 6, and number 7, all varying in sizes. This is a 12 by 12, 14 by 14, below is an 8 by 8, and this is another 12 by 12. And I like the colors that she used in these. They're much more mustard, kind of lime green, bright reds, and this one's a darker purple, which I think transitions nicely from her previous series of Journey to Traveling. Next is a diptych, and if anyone's not familiar with what a diptych is, it means it's 2 separate pieces that are meant to be together. And sometimes they are meant to be sold separately or together, and it seems that Pam Tarbell wants these sold as one because they're labeled as a 30 by 40. And this one is called Marsh Lights, and I love how she outlined each little lily pad with bright red, so the colors just really pop in these. Here we have a series called Ode to the Birdhouse, and it's a series of multiple 10 by 8s and 2 20 by 20s. And so it's these 2 here, softer pinks and reds, into these bolder reds and contrasting blues. And then on this side, the series continues. This is Ode to the Birdhouse number 5, number 6A, and number 7A. And these are much softer blues, more pastel in the orange and pinks. And of course in the lookbook we can go through and see the specific differences. And the last series we have here is What's on Your Balcony. This is What's on Your Balcony number 6, and it's a 20 by 16 oil on canvas, as well as this 20 by 16 here. And then the third part of the series is What's on Your Balcony number 2. And this is a 48 by 36. I'd love to know in the questions we'll ask Pam where these balconies were inspired by, because all these bold colors and patterns here, almost like tile work. So curious about where all this color came from. We have by Pam Tarbell right now, and it's a 36 by 48. It's called Migration Reflection, and you can see the shadow of the flying birds, which she did in orange, which I think is really cool. And you can see that reflection behind these reeds. And it's like you're standing there in this kind of psychedelic place. You can view all of these pieces online at wrenworks.org in the lookbook. And Pam also has 4 pieces over at the Adair Inn, which is just down the road here. And you can view those online as well. And Saunderson is our next artist. She's filling up this whole room here. And this first one we have of her is Murmur. And it's oil and cold wax on panel. And all of the pieces that she has on panel, she also used cold wax, which I'm really curious about and we'll hear in the discussion. Next is this oil on canvas by Anne again. And it's a 30 by 36 of a pool, ladies at the pool. It's called the Pool Series at Ease. I love how casual this piece looks. It's oil on canvas as well, a 36 by 30. It's called Blue Socks. And it looks like they're in the water. I don't know why she's wearing socks in the water, but I like it. Next, moving into these very colorful abstract pieces, we have Kaboom. It's oil and cold wax again on panel, a 38 by 22. Lots of soft blues and contrasting deep purples. And it looks like even she used something with a serrated edge to bring this layer on. And there's lots of texture in material and texture in visual. Now these 3 we have, this is a 6 by 6 and 2 5 by 5s. They're all 3 oil and cold wax on panel. And we've got some soft pinks, lots of like dots and fine detail work on these abstract pieces. These 2 here are the only 2 that Anne Saunderson did as a series. This is called Upheaval number 1 and Upheaval number 2. One is much more bright and bold, and the other is much more soft and pastel looking, although it has this dark black contrasting the pastel. All right, next we have Pick Up Your Heels. Another certainly abstract piece, although you can see that this is some sort of form, figure, woman, possibly with her foot all in detail, and I think it has a lot of motion and movement. So this corner here isn't necessarily a series, but I grouped it together because I think the colors all flow really well together, and they're just beautiful. Lots of teals and pinks and oranges and like some deep dark blues that are almost black. And I think that they look really wonderful all together and individually. There's just a lot of texture going on and a lot of motion. Even this one, it's almost like, I don't know, some figure or form is coming out of a mist or a fog. But I just love the colors that she used here. All right, next we have Oh Won't You Stay, and it's an oil and cold wax on panel. This is a 6 by 8, and it also kind of flows with that last corner of these teals and oranges. And I think that it transitions nicely to this large oil on canvas. It's called a greenhouse series, and it does, personally it reminds me of, I don't know if anyone's been to the Arboretum in DC, but you can totally see this like mist coming out of the greenhouse, and it's just really beautiful. I think there's so much motion, and I love how in a few of her works she is certainly abstract but gives so much form that it just adds a little bit of mystery. Next we have another oil and cold wax on panel called Weight of the Load. This one's an 8 by 6, and this one, when we go through the lookbook, it has a lot of texture, this dark red that's over the brighter red is like, you could, I mean, I'm sure you could touch it and feel ridges, but I won't. The same thing going on with the black. This is a really cool one. All right, over here we have two that also go nicely together. We have Night Descending and Through the Night Door. Not a series, but they flow really nicely. There's lots of greens and dark blues, and it definitely looks like evening-scape colors. But who knows what's going on in these evening-scapes. This next one is called Whoosh, and it's lots of bright yellows and lime greens and yeah, just lots of motion and excitement going on in this piece. Oil and cold wax on panel. I believe this whole wall here is oil and cold wax on panel. This small 8x6 is called Windows and Doors. And this one here is Firefight, much more ominous than I remember seeing it before I knew the title. Wait for It is the next one. More teals and blues and contrasting oranges. Dubai has lots of dark blues and almost like hints of buildings here, as if you were maybe standing down below the buildings and looking up at them all coming in. If you would like to see more of Anne Saunderson's work, we have the lookbook online on wrenworks.org, and there are a few more pieces that she has over at the Adair Inn, so you can always go visit those, and those are online as well. Or you can come visit in here and see all the fantastic detail that each artist has done.